Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show episode number 897 with your host, Agostinho Zinga, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of London. How you doing? How you feeling? How you doing? How you're feeling? Great, amazing, good to hear. Great, amazing, good to hear. I'm not feeling the best as per usual. I'm not feeling the best, especially post United defeat against Newcastle, which we're gonna end. We're gonna start the podcast this way. We're gonna start the podcast with a good old rant, with a good old complain, with a good old moan, because this is the best way to kind of get all of these feelings, all of these emotions, all of this anger, all of this frustration out of me by blasting, by shouting and screaming through a microphone. So let's bloody go. So, as most of you guys know, United succumbed to Newcastle's pressure and lost 4-1 away from home. 4-1 away from home. Now, it's a strange game to review because in my opinion, it really wasn't a 4-1 game, Newcastle didn't really tear us apart, but they still won comfortably 4-1, if that makes any sense at all. If that makes any sense at all. It really wasn't a 4-1 game, but Newcastle put us to the sword, and it could be argued they could have probably scored 6 goals if they wanted to. That's the weird game, how it was. It was such a bizarre game. But by and by, what to take away from this is we are far away from competing for the league. Far away, even further from competing to the top 6. And it's also make me question, do you think some of our fans suffer from actual genuine mental health issues? Because I don't understand the optimism. I don't understand the giddiness. I don't understand the toxic positivity based on what you see on the pitch. What do they think is going to happen? Do some of our fans honestly think if we get a better manager in, quote unquote, that we're suddenly going to turn things around? That if we get a striker in that's better than Højlund and Zerski, suddenly we're going to look much more assured. If we get a better goalkeeper in than Onana and Bayinda, that suddenly we're going to be in the top 6. So people think 1 player, 2 player, 3 players going to change this. I don't think so. If you had to ask me, I would say a minimum. And I'm not saying they need to be world class. I'm saying good players of Mazwari standard and up, right? Players that can just come in. I think if you had to ask me as a United fan, we need 7 players of a Mazwari standard and up just to even compete. Just to compete. And I can't remember the last time that Man United signed more than 5 players in one transfer window. We don't usually do that. And Ineos have come in and allegedly we don't have the money to spend anyway. We have to sell to buy. So most likely we're looking at probably 2 to 3 signings in the summer. But that's not going to change nothing in my personal opinion. That might get us top 10, but it's not going to get us top 6. It's not going to get us top 4 based on what I see currently. And it's not even it's kind of a bit out of order to kind of get into the players because I don't think they can do much more than what they can do. They're just not good, They're just not good. No matter some of the ones we signed recently, some of the ones we had previously, they're just not good. It's not their fault. They didn't ask to be signed. And to some respect, I'm even going to go as far as saying, I don't even place that much blame on the manager. He's been disappointing. Amarin's been very disappointing. Don't get me wrong. He came in with a big pedigree. He came in with a lot of swagger, with a lot of bluster, a lot of hype, right? It kind of felt like he's going to be our savior. And he's basically had us maybe finishing in our worst league position ever. And he took over, 8 games into the season? That's not good enough. But he's also a manager who plays a particular brand of football that the owners, Ineos, knew that he plays a particular brand of football that requires particular type of players. I'm sorry. If you get a manager like that in and you pay 9 million euros to get him out of his contract at Sporting Lisbon, a quarter into the season, surely you have to support him with transfers. Surely if you're doing that, if you're sacking Erik ten Hag 8 games into the season, you are surely doing that because you want to save the season. You think you can turn it around. Not signing players for Amarin's very specific style of play was a real big mistake. Maybe a bigger mistake than letting Erik ten Hag have another season. Because Erik ten Hag thing, maybe they got giddy. Personally, if it was me, I would have preferred if we let go of Erik ten Hag after the FA Cup final against City, an amazing performance, an amazing win. You shake hands with the board fraud and you say, hasta la vista, sayonara, baby, hasta fucking la vista. But we didn't do that. We let him come into a third season. So, whatever. Annoyed, it is what it is. But surely, if you get a manager like Amrin, you have to give him the players. Surely you do. But is he doing a good enough job anyway with what he's been given? Probably not. But going back to the game, strange one because did the goal come? I thought the goal that Newcastle scored, the first goal, I thought set a precedent in my opinion because it was entirely avoidable. Like Newcastle, for all the 4 goals they scored, I think they were all defensive mistakes. Every single one was a defensive mistake, and every single one was preventable, in my humble opinion. So the first goal that Tonali scores, I'm going to have to say that I put a majority of the blame on Lindelof. Although I know Ugarte lost the ball in the build-up that then led to the goal, I'm going to place most of the blame on Lindelof. Lindelof allowed too much space between himself and Isak, who's on incredible form this season. He let him get away from him. Isak miscontrolled the ball. The ball bounced up in the air and Lindelof wasn't there. And Isak managed to lob the ball over the top into Tonali's path. A half volley bang into the bottom corner. In my personal opinion, a striker should never be allowed to miscontrol a ball like that into the air and easily cushion it over the top of the defenders. You should be taking him out. You should be studs up, running into his instep of his foot, giving away a penalty, a free kick, whatever. But you should not let a striker easily miscontrol the ball. It bubbles up and he is able to put. That was a big mistake from Lindelof, and it kind of goes to show just it's evident of representative of his entire career at United. He's always a bit slow. He struggles against very physical, athletic players. He's a little bit passive for me, in my personal opinion, when it comes to Lindelof. He's not probably on the front foot, maybe on the back foot a little bit too much, which isn't the greatest way to defend in the Premier League. You need to be on the front foot, aggressive, essentially like driving your flipping cock into the striker's bum. You got to be always on their fucking ass, and he doesn't do that. He's too much softy, playing the person by the side and shit, which I absolutely detest. And we scored a good goal to kind of bring it level. Garnacho scored a brilliant goal. I thought we also did another good move with Bruno and Zertsky that made it look pretty decent. But I thought after the first goal, we weathered the storm pretty decently. We weathered the storm. Newcastle looked like they were going to score another one. We weathered that storm. We scored the equalizer. Garnacho was very, very well taken goal, to be honest. So big up to him. Outside of his right foot or left foot, I don't know how he did it, but very, very good finish. And then the second half starts, and we're in the game still. Newcastle haven't really got out of gear 1, but it was a decent first half. It wasn't that bad. Like, it was okay. It wasn't entertaining from our side of things. We didn't hold on to the ball well enough. Ugarte was a bit sloppy in possession, but it wasn't that bad. And then we just get blitzed in the first half. I don't know what the fuck happened on that right-hand side of our pitch. Mazwari does a madness. Dalot does a madness. I don't know what the hell's going on. Dalot shows Livramento down the line, like, as if he's not bow-footed. I don't get that, by the way. Livramento is one of the best fullbacks in the country for me, or in the league. He shows him down the line. He hits the bar line, crosses the ball in. It goes all the way to one side, back in the middle again, and Harvey Barnes scores 2-1. And in my opinion, at 2-1, I think this game's over, because we didn't really have enough of the spark, and it kind of caught us off guard. But then that second Harvey Barnes goal. Harvey Barnes is a good young player, right? I've always liked him. I've liked him when he was at Leicester. Good English player. But he's no world beater, bro. We made Harvey Barnes look like Kaka reincarnated. We made him look like Kaka reincarnated, the way he tore through the middle of that pitch. Personally, if that was me, if I'm Lindelof, I'm taking that player out. Lindelof looks so slow covering ground to get to fucking Harvey Barnes. I think if that's Maguire, he gets to the ball. He gets to Harvey Barnes and stops him running through. He doesn't. Harvey Barnes goes through, and great finish from him to actually top bins, smashes it. Cool, no problem. And then we continue playing, and one of our best players in Zertsky in the last few weeks is one of the only decent players that we have at the moment. He makes a good run and he pulls a hamstring, because effectively what Zertsky was trying to do was kind of, carry the team, ball carry, was trying to, put some onus into the team. Probably did a bit too much, and he ended up pulling his hamstring, and he's probably out for the season, right? So Zertsky's out. So now we have to rely on Højlund, who's had a horrible season. And he's not in the best confidence. He's not in the best form. Højlund comes on, I think about the 60th minute, just after Harvey Barnes scored, I think so, if I'm not mistaken, or just before. And I don't think he did anything. I swear to God, except for the header at the end, which is a decent chance, Luke Shaw crossed the ball into the box and he did a little glancing header, which I've not seen that from him, by the way, which is, again, I think, defense of Højlund. When has he got the chance to do that, you know? And he's really good at heading. I think so. His heading is very underrated. But when's the last time he's had a cross where he's able to connect to it? We don't put enough good crosses. We don't put him balls to the top. So a lot of his like poor form, I think, is based on us as a team, as a club, not really having a plan for him. We signed him and we don't really know what to do. And plus, he's how old he is, 20-something years old. He shouldn't be the one that's leading the line at United. He should be an understudy of somebody. There should be an experienced striker who Højlund and Zertsky can both learn off of. The fact that we're relying on those two strikers says everything about where we are as a club. Anyway, he didn't do anything. So the game kind of petered out at the end. Bruno Guimaraes ends up scoring another goal just to kind of, you know, rub more salt in the wounds. But I would go as far as saying that I don't think Newcastle had to do that much to beat us. Really didn't have to do that much. I thought Isak had one of the most quietest games he's ever had. I thought Bruno Guimaraes was also very quiet. Tonali was also very quiet. They didn't have to do that much. But when the moments mattered, their players obviously stepped up. But we have to talk about Bayinda. Man. I'm glad this is happening. Because I feel like United fans, and sometimes myself included, which I think I can be reasonable, but I think I've got a tendency to do this too. We love a hero and we love a scapegoat. So I think it was deserved. We deserve this. We deserve this because all week we've been giving fucking Onana pelters, rightfully so, for the 2 goals we conceded against Lyon in Europa League, which were both his fault. He's been getting pelters. He should have been dropped before that. In my opinion, I think he's been terrible this majority of the season. He cost us a fucking Champions League football, to be completely honest, but whatever, we move on from that one. So he's been getting pelters. Okay, cool. Onana's out now. He's dropped from the squad entirely. We're not even sure if he's going to play the second leg against Lyon, because allegedly the rumours are around Old Trafford, in case you don't know, is that after the 2-2 draw against Lyon, the rumours are that Casemiro and Bruno were about to fight Onana in the dressing room. They had to be pulled apart, hence why he got dropped from the squad entirely. So they were so pissed off with his mistakes that Casemiro and Bruno were about to beat him up. Or they were all going to get into some sort of melee. So he got dropped entirely. Okay, Onana's out the squad now. Bayinda comes in. And apart from some good saves in the first half, Jesus Christ, he didn't get close to any of those goals, did he? He obviously made, I think, the error for Bruno Guimaraes' goal, trying to play out from the back, and it got intercepted by Joe Linton, knocks down, boom, easy goal. And you just look at it and you think to yourself, like, this is where we're at as a club. We had probably 3 of the worst goalkeepers in the league, in Andre Onana, Altay Ben Bayinda, and the third one, Tom Heaton. We have 3 of the worst keepers in the league. So I'm not surprised now. Now it makes sense, to give the manager credit. Now it makes sense why Bayinda has never played in the league. Because I was surprised when I heard that stat. That's his debut in the league. He's never played a single league game. And Onana's not that good. Like I've always said, I don't understand how we have players in our squad that are undroppable when we're 17th or wherever we are. No one in that team should be undroppable. But now we know why the manager doesn't trust these players or doesn't trust Bayinda. Because yes, Onana's bad, but what would you rather? Bayinda or Onana? Probably go with Onana, because at least he's got some form he's shown previously. He's been an elite keeper at one stage of his career. He's terrible now, don't get me wrong. Very, very overrated. We probably are going to lose money on him, but you probably would stick with Onana if you had to pick the best of a bad bunch. But again, Bayinda could also be excused because he hasn't really been given a chance. Even though he come back from injury, I feel like he hasn't really been given a chance to really kind of, impress or to get a run of form. But regardless, and then obviously Mason Mount, all those players came on. No, whatever. Long story short, just to kind of wrap this up, because I'm bored of talking about this fucking team. Relegation would have been a gift for us. Relegation would have been a gift. We're too far ahead now to get relegated, and the relegated clubs are too shit. We're bad, but we're not as bad as Ipswich and their man. But relegation would have been a gift. If we would have got relegated, it would have been a fucking gift. We would have been able to force the Glazers out. It would have maybe forced even Ineos to leave. It would have made things so much clearer because there wouldn't be as much money to extract from this club. But because there's a lot of money to still be extracted from this club, but that's just hanging around in fucking survival purgatory, right? We're not really bad enough to get relegated, but never good enough to do anything in the league. We're just going to keep being in the same position. And we have terrible players that we have to replace. Like I said, I think we need 7 players minimum to replace to kind of get us to the level that we need to be. We're not going to sign 7 players in the summer. I know that, but we need 7. So next season is going to be rough. And if we don't win against Lyon and go through, or win the Europa League, sorry, there's also no Europe, so there's no extra money coming in, which I think is a good thing. I don't understand this whole idea about, oh, we need to be in Europe. This obsession with trophies, this club is fucking bizarre when we're just not set up to win those trophies consistently. We play horrible football in the first place. Like, I just don't get it personally. But regardless, sometimes you need those things, cool. But our whole season relies or heavily kind of hangs on this Lyon game. And one thing we know about these players, the bigger the fucking pressure, the more they fucking crumble. So am I hoping or am I expecting us to win a second leg against Lyon? Probably not. Probably not. We're terrible. And I think relegation would have been a gift. But now we're going to be finishing what? However we're going to be, whatever league position we're going to be in. 15th, 16th, 17th, I don't give a fuck. And yeah, man, worst league finish in the history of this club. And for sure, this puts a lot of pressure on Amorim next season. A lot of pressure. Unnecessary pressure too, by the way. Unnecessary pressure because he really should have started next season, right? If you're not gonna give him any money, you're probably better off just like keeping Eriksson Hagen until the end of the season, or at worst, maybe letting fucking Ruben Listeride stay until the end of the season. Getting a manager in from another club, paying the fucking contract out 9 million euros, knowing that he plays a certain style of play, but not wanting to sign his own play, it's just idiotic to me. It's idiotic. I'm sure there's a reason why, but in my simple brain, it doesn't make sense. And they've set him up for failure. And obviously, he's one guy. So if something does go wrong next season, he's going to be the one to get thrown under the bus, not the ownership, because there's too many of them, right? And they own the club. But he's definitely going to get fired next season. If we start next season off, the first 5 games, if we lose one of those first 5 games, the pressure is going to be so up for him, especially if he gets the players that he wants. Woo-hoo-hoo. So yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I wish I could be optimistic like some United fans out there and have this toxic positivity. I don't see how they have it. I don't see where that comes from. And yeah, man, I guess we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But Newcastle 4, United 1. Congratulations to them. They're probably going to secure top 4 very soon. And we are languishing. And it was actually a good representation of one club on the way up and one club on the way down. So congratulations to Newcastle. Obviously off the back of the Carabao Cup and that sort of stuff. They're probably on cloud 9. And yeah, man, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And just for the sake of me checking, where are we in the league actually? Where are we in the league actually? Look how far I have to scroll down. Look at that. That's the PremierLeague.com tables section of the website. Look how far I have to scroll down. Look at that. Look how far I have to scroll down to find my team. We're 14th. We're 14th. Look at that form. Last 5 games. Draw, win, loss, draw, loss. Next game we're facing Wolves. That's going to be a tricky game too, because they're on a good run of form. Yeah, they've won the last 4 games. Wolves have won their last 4, and we have what? One of our last 4. Lost 2 and drawn 1. One team on the up, one team on the going down. Who's gonna win? Especially with Cunha playing up front, who we were heavily linked with. We're probably gonna get battered. But yeah, what a horrible season, man. One absolutely horrendous, truly horrendous season. Talking about horrendous things, I actually watched Black Mirror season 7 earlier, and although it was better than recent seasons, it made me think, like, is this show never going to be as good as it first was when it started? Or am I looking at it through rose-tinted spectacles? And is there an argument to be had that there should be a version of Black Mirror shows that exist that are a little bit optimistic about our technological future? Does everything need to be black-pilled? Or is that, I guess that's the whole point of the show, but I don't know. I get a bit bored of this, like, every tech advancement is going to lead to our destructions of a civilization. It's going to bring the worst out of us. It's not going to be good. It's like, there's got to be good things about technology. We've got many of them right now. And I would love a show that was a bit more optimistic, you know? a little bit more flowery, a little bit more bright-eyed, a little bit more inspiring, motivational, whatever it may be. I don't know, maybe even to inspire kids to kind of go and study something that includes the sciences and stuff, or whatever else in school. That might be actually good in a weird quasi, you know, Tomorrow's World type of affair, which was a big show back in the day that used to do a lot of tech and sci-fi shit. Because I kind of got a bit bored of the whole misery when it comes to Black Mirror. But again, decent season, all things intended. If I had to rate the episodes or say which one was my favorite, I'm gonna say probably the last two. I'm not gonna lie. In terms of the concept, I think maybe not the last two. Eulogy and USS Callista into Infinity. I think they might have been two of my favorite ones. I love the idea of having that little gizmo or gadget on the side of your temple that essentially allows you to kind of replay memories in Eulogy. I love the idea of the Callista having the same thing but with games, having them be immersive, so you don't even have to use a controller. You kind of go under, you're like in a state of hallucination or something, and you kind of been able to picture yourself playing in the game and doing everything that needs to be done, whatever it may be. I think that's a pretty cool idea. But I think the rest of the episodes were a little bit, meh. Not gonna lie, a little bit meh. I got tired of them very, very quickly. It was a slog to get through some of the episodes. I'm not gonna lie, some of them are like 1 hour plus long, mad crazy runtime. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. The last two episodes in particular. But the rest of them were a little bit of a snooze fest. I'm not gonna lie. The rest of them were a little bit of a snooze fest. I don't know. Even the one with what's her name, Issa Rae. I think that was Betty Noir. Was it Betty Noir or Hotel Riviere? No, Hotel Riviere with Issa Rae. I thought that was okay. I didn't mind that too much. Not the best, but I didn't really understand why Issa Rae had to play that role. But whatever. And yeah, the last two might have been the ones I probably would have hung my hat on in general. But I would love there to be a bit more optimism when it comes to tech personally, but I guess that's the whole point of the show. So there's a review here courtesy of The Guardian that kind of speaks a little bit about it. It says Black Mirror Season 7, Charlie Brooker's thrilling satire gets its warmest, most human season ever. I'm not too sure about that one. It says it's tough being an anthology, while other dramas set up their premise and characters, then lazily dole out a little more of the same old every episode. Anthologies must constantly seek our approval anew. If critics and viewers think the latest shiny thing is dud, they toss it into the void and deem the expert hard work that went into it to be a waste. Even the hits are only celebrated briefly. In season 7 of his collection of digital age fables, Black Mirror writer Charlie Brooker finally cracks for the first time produces a sequel to an old episode. This year's feature-length finale, USS Callista Into Infinity, is a straight continuation of season 4's fan favorite. But it's the least interesting installment of the new batch because it can't replicate the thrill, the hope, the starting without knowing whether this episode adventure will be a success. The other 5 offerings take the risk and almost get their reward. Leading the line is Common People, starring Chris Dowd and Lucinda Jones as a blue-collar couple who are more love than money. When she's okay, cool, yeah, that first episode is actually decent. I'm not gonna lie, I take that back. So 3 out of the 5 ain't too bad. That first episode is pretty decently. That's a pretty decent episode. I quite enjoyed that one. That was called Common People, right? I think that was Common People. Yeah, that was Common People. That was actually pretty decent. Tracy Ellis Ross, I thought was really good. She played that role really well. But the rest of them, not the greatest. I'm not gonna lie, not the fucking greatest. The one I loved the most was Eulogy. What did it say here about Eulogy? Even more heartfelt is Eulogy with a perfectly cast Paul Giamatti, sorry. He's a great actor, by the way. I fucking love him. As a man given the chance to step inside of your old photograph and unlock memories of the great love lost. The techno goblins barely impact on a sweet, sad, simple tale that sets away from Brooker's growing obsession with characters choosing between online and offline versions of themselves. Here instead is a man looking back on one of his only analog life, regretting that his younger self didn't know and couldn't recognize the truth about the happiness is that he had in his box a detached full of pictures and letters and cassettes. The dust may get in your eyes. Yeah, that one was really good because it was sort of like representative of real life in terms of sometimes we have a very warped and distorted view of what actually happened and the events that kind of transpired. And I love that that actual app or that service allows you to kind of take a walk back through memory via the pictures that don't usually lie, and to kind of step by step kind of, remind yourself of actually what went on to get to the truth of the matter, and to be able to kind of, better maybe eulogize or, you know, remember somebody that passes away. I really fucking loved it. I thought that was a really, really good premise, and I thought they really skipped it. They really, really smacked it. We'll continue on to it, but this year's other standout demonstrates that Black Mirror hasn't lost its demon spark. Better-Noir was a premise straight out of the midweek terrestrial drama, with Sienna Kelly as Maria, the office high flyer who's right to suspect a new recruit, Verity, is a deranged wrong'un, but can't prove it in a way that her colleagues can see. So efforts to expose Verity make Maria look like a loose cannon. The cruel chaos smoothly ramps up, gradually revealing the twist before the narrative delivers an ending that will make you laugh or chuckle, but very especially cackle. Yeah, that was alright, Betty Noir, but I kind of got bored of it after a while, I'm not going to lie. The only skippable episode is Plaything, set in the near future where cops use DNA mouth swabs to solve crimes. Yeah, I really didn't enjoy that at all, that one. I agree with the Garden on that one. And have an interrogation room built with the pleasing asymmetrical lozenge shape. Inside sits a predictably excellent Peter Capaldi as a mercurial murder suspect who has spent his adult life playing a video game and somewhere between Lemmings, The Sims and Tamagotchi. That looks like it's a great first half is followed by the end credits. The setup is all there. The idea didn't go anywhere. Our thumbs down, and Plaything is moved swiftly to the bin. Yeah, it was a decent enough. I'd recommend you check it out just for the sake of checking it out, but it didn't really move me the way other Black Mirrors have moved me. But, you know, 3 out of 5 to be decent episodes. With the one that you probably should watch, I think, is Eulogy, personally. I think Eulogy was fucking brilliant. So big up Black Mirror. The other thing I want to talk about quickly in terms of shows is Handmaid's Tale. I've just been watching season 5. Oh, is this season 5? First 3 episodes just dropped, and I'm even bored of this show. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of bored of this show. It's very, very, very depressing, like incredibly so. And I wouldn't think shows would depress me, but it's such a miserable show. Just when you think June Osborne is on her way out and is gonna be reunited with her family, she gets pulled right back in again. It never seems to get better for her. I think the end of season 4, she got run over by a truck, and then her arm got run over by the truck again and completely shattered into pieces. Her daughter got taken away from her again. She split up from her husband. No, split up from the husband, split up from the other baby daddy. Like, just a continual loop of just misery. And now she's going back in again. Like, the end of episode 3 is basically her going back in again, you know? And kind of, leaving one of her kids with her mum. Which, you know, spoiler alert, she finds her mum, and it's just, I don't know. Some of these shows, like, I'm hoping season 5's the end. I'm hoping we get a cathartic finish where fucking Serena ends up getting killed, because the fact that that woman's still alive in this series makes no sense to me, given all of the heinous things she's done. The fact that she's still alive and gets to keep her baby, gets to go back to fucking Gilead, or now it's called New Bethlehem, and lead that new charge. It's just asinine. It makes no sense, in my personal opinion. The show is miserable. The show is depressing. I want it to be over already. I want there to be a good resolution for the protagonist that is June Osborne. Will that happen? Probably not, because I think they kind of, I think maybe the book, maybe it's the book's fault. Maybe the book itself is the reason why this show is so miserable. But I just had enough, man. Please let June win. Can she be reunited with Hannah? Can she hold that girl for more than 3 episodes or 2 episodes? Like, can we have some resolution? Can that fucking Serena woman please die? And the other fucking posh dude, can that guy die as well? Can some actual big characters die in this episode? Instead of just keep on going through a continual loop of getting caught, escaping, getting caught, escaping, getting caught, escaping. I've just simply had enough. But hey, what do I know? Check out those 2 shows. Check out those 2 shows. I'm sure you've enjoyed that absolutely incredible review for me. Continuing on. Big up, blood. Coachella. Coachella is happening this past weekend. I feel like I've not seen people on the timeline talking about it, I feel like I've seen a lack of commentary, a lack of clip sharing on the timeline of Coachella. I know season 2 is coming. Oh, no, season 2. So, weekend 2 is happening this weekend. But I think I've not seen many people on the timeline sharing clips. I don't know why. I've seen some Travis Scott stuff. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 Charlie XCX chops, but there's plenty of people playing, and it doesn't seem like it's have the same verve, whatever it's going on there. So who knows what's happening? But this is a really interesting article courtesy of Billboard. It says, as concert ticket prices soar, more than half of Coachella's general admission attendees are buying tickets through payment plans. So this is making me wonder, like, you remember there was a story that came out recently about, I think it was either DoorDash or Uber Eats or one of these kind of delivery companies was implementing this new change where they were going to allow people to pay for their food via payment plan. So they were going to install some sort of Klarna payment plan processing. And I was thinking to myself, rah, man, like how broke do you have to be to like Klarna a meal from Five Guys or Burger King, KFC, whatever? Not Five Guys, because Five Guys meals are quite expensive, but fast food, you're having to fucking do that via payment plan. But I guess it shows that across the board, people either don't want to pay up front anymore because there is an option to do a payment plan, or people are broke and they don't want to pay, so they would rather do a payment plan, or they can't afford to pay, or number three, the tickets are just too expensive to begin with, and no regular person with a regular job has £500 to just drop on a ticket off the bat. They have to maybe break up into small payments, but if you don't secure it on the day, it sells out, so you have to kind of get it via the payment plan. But it's also interesting just to see where we're at in terms of society. But it also, I think, is interesting because this also proves that people are willing to do this with experiences. I don't think people are willing to probably do this with clothes as much, but I think when it comes to experiences, because you can get your fits off, you can record content, you can network, you can listen to great music, see artists that you like, blah 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 blah, it's probably worth going on a payment plan and paying that extra bit on interest, because those memories are going to last forever. Pretty depressing, but it is what it is. So let's read the article courtesy of Dave Brooks from Billboard. Tens of thousands of music fans will descend on California's desert this weekend for the first two iterations of Coachella. Approximately 80,000 to 100,000 fans each weekend will have coughed up that's a lot of money, bro. $599 per ticket to see headliners Lady Gaga, Travis Scott, Green Day, and Post Malone. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's probably a lot. That's probably too much. Like, there's a lot of artists that perform at Coachella, but I'm gonna say that's too much for those people. If you were going to divide 600 between four people, I think $600 to see Lady Gaga, Travis Scott, Green Day, and Post Malone is too much money. They're not worth it. They're not. Simply not worth it. Especially because you're probably not gonna like one of them at least. You're gonna be a fan of maybe two at most. So you're paying $300 to see Lady Gaga or fucking Post Malone or Green Day. No, thank you. But ticket prices is often just the cost of entry. Many of those fans will spend more than $1,000 per weekend on lodging and cough up hundreds of dollars more on food, drinks, and merchandise. It's a substantial spend for any of the 20-somethings in Coachella's target demographic. The festival organizers are increasingly help finances their purchase through payment plan programs. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of even techno festivals recently do that, which is a good way to kind of secure people into festivals, to get them locked down. And I also wonder, this is also interesting, I've been thinking just now, I wonder if the amount of people that back out of festivals decreases if they're on the payment plan. Because I think when people buy tickets outright, maybe they're prone to going to sell it because there's a lot of money you invested outright. But if you decide to book via a payment plan, there's a possibility that you're probably not going to sell it on or not turn up. Because yes, they get the money if you buy it and still not turn up, but they probably want to complete the transaction and have you turn up, spend money on a fucking charging, to charge your phone, spend money on food, spend money on drink. They want you to attend because they can extract way more out of you. So I wonder if payment plan ticket buyers are more prone to turn up than not turn up. I don't know. It continues. Approximately 6% of Glendale admission ticket buyers at this year's festival opted to use Coachella's payment plan system, which requires little as $49 upfront for tickets or the annual concert. The Desert Festival isn't alone. Lollapalooza, Electric Day Carnival, and Rolling Loud are all see the majority of their tickets using some kind of payment plan. That's actually a good idea, especially considering the amount of young people that go to these type of festivals. It makes sense to give them this option because it makes the regular kid who probably doesn't have affluent parents a chance to go, because for $49.99 I think every kid probably has this available to put down, but can they put down $5.99? Probably not. So this is actually a good idea to get people to buy tickets and go. I still think the tickets prices already are too much. I just don't think $600 Coachella is worth it. It's just not worth it. I'm sorry, that festival isn't good. I don't think there's a single festival that should be $600 anyway. That includes fucking Glastonbury. There's not a single one that makes sense. It should be a $600 for the ticket for entry. Like, come on, man. There should be a cap on festival prices, in my personal opinion, but I could be wrong. Representative at Golden Voice, who puts on Coachella, declined to comment on the story. One source who asked to remain anonymous because they weren't authorized to speak to the media told Billboard that payment plans have fundamentally changed how festivals are marketed to the public. The quote, festivals are now marketing a cheap down payment as the main call to action. The messaging is $20 down gets you in the door, or $50 down gets you started. It's no longer about the artist or the festival or the lifestyle. The message, you can afford this to actor. Exactly. It's not even about the music. Because I guess it makes sense, isn't it? Because I guess most people that go to festivals, do they really, especially these type of festivals, do they really care about who's playing anyway? No? Like, do they actually care? Apart from the one or two people, I don't think so. There are festivals that people do care. Like, again, I went to Primavera. I think people care. Coachella, people care. There's one in England. I forgot the name of it that people care. But places like Coachella, I don't think people actually care. It's more so like it's more like a hangout. And I've noticed actually via social, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've noticed like Coachella's always. I know show's always been that way. But I saw this clip of Lori Harvey. And people like screaming at her name as she's walking past, trying to get to like the VIP section at the front of the festival. And it's like, it's become like a gawking, like a zoo thing. It's become like real life FOMO or whatever that site is, right? Dewsmar, FOMO, whatever, right? Or real life pop base. Because that's what I'm surprised by, actually, thinking about it. I'm surprised pop base doesn't have their own festival. But it's become a real life version of those places where people go to like be in the presence of celebrities. It's kind of wild. So maybe $600 for those people is worth it, because you not only get to see and hear your favorite artist, you also get to stare at Timothée Chalamet and fucking Kylie Jenner as they're kissing. You know, you kind of get to look at them as they're holding hands walking through the crowd. You get to look at Cara Delevingne, you kind of get to all this. It's a very strange thing. So maybe that payment plan thing is actually a good idea, because some of those people just want to go for the, lack of a better term, for the cultural relevance of going there, right? It's April. Everyone knows April's is Coachella month, and you want to get those pictures up. You want to get your fucking, maybe get a bit of a following, maybe get a bit of a bump. If you upload pictures during Coachella, who fucking knows? But it's kind of wild to think that the messaging first is about the payment plan and not about the artist. It's not about who's playing at all. It's about, hey, you can afford this. It continues. The same source told Billboard that it's not uncommon for some fans to have 4 or 5 different festival payment plans hitting their account at one time. Typically, fans pay as little as $19 or $20, I guess, to get started on the payment plan that's extended over a period of several months. 3 months generally for Coachella, since most buying happens after the lineup is announced, which until 2025 took place in early January. This year, fans who signed up before 25th had their payments split into 3 payments, with the last payment hitting the user's account on March. But I wonder what that's doing to smaller festivals, though. That's the problem, isn't it? Coachella could probably afford to do this because they want to just get you in, because they know once they get you in, because it's like in the middle of nowhere, Coachella. I've watched loads of vlogs, people go there, you can't actually go to shops, so you have to buy everything there, and everything is drastically overpriced. Coachella know if they get you there, they're gonna extract another $200 out of you minimum, so they're fine. But for smaller festivals, having a payment plan must really fucking hurt, because you're not getting the money all in one chunk. People are paying it across the board. Sometimes payments don't go through. Sometimes people are going to end up selling them anyway in the end. Running a festival is not an easy task. The system is different than those popular fintech payment plans, firms like Klarna, Affirm, or Sizzle, which pay out the vendor in full and reimburse themselves by collecting the remaining payments from buyers. These firms make money from merchants and processing fees they collect from vendors, and in some cases, interest payments charged to customers that go beyond their original payment plan. Okay. Because firms like Klarna and Affirm essentially grant buyers credit, often run credit histories on users, they are heavily relegated under a number of states and federal financial frameworks. Oh, okay, true. Because you have to do a credit, check if you're using Klarna and shit. Anyway, okay, so that probably might explain why these ticket things are more popular, because they probably don't require a credit check. Or they're easier to pass a credit check, which probably makes sense because young people don't really have good credit, because they maybe, fucked it up, or they don't have, payments, like monthly payments and credit cards and shit. The payment systems used by festival promoters are administered by ticketing companies like AXS, Ticketmaster, and Frontgate, and are offered as a service in exchange for the festival promoter's business. These systems are not considered credit providers, since there's no third party fronting the vendor full prices on transaction. Instead, the vendor is paid over time as each payment goes through. Oh, risky. Risky. It's risky. No wonder some festivals don't do this, man. That's sweating. It opens you up to more potential buyers, but it also opens you up to people dropping, flaking, you know. And I love a good flake. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. So you give me an option to flake, I'm a flake. So this is open for people flaking, you know, not having paid money on their card at the time that they originally, you know, on the date that money's going to go through. Ticket buyers are charged I guess this works the same way as Airbnb. Airbnb has the same thing. When you pay via payment plan on Airbnb, it's not like a credit check thing. I'm sure it isn't. They just set up different dates that the payments are gonna, you know, hit your account and shit. Ticket buyers are charged $41 fee for using Coachella's, but I think in Airbnb, I think the payment plan is only over a certain amount, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they let you do a payment plan if it's like a £91 fucking weekend stay somewhere. I think it has to be over a certain dollar amount, certain pound amount. Ticket buyers are charged $41 for using the Coachella's payment plan, similar to what other festivals charge fans for the use of the payment plans. The fee is equivalent to approximately 8% of the ticket price, which is still far cheaper than what a fan might pay for financing a ticket on a credit card. The revenue generated from the fee is split between the ticketing company and the promoter. While some criticize festivals for using fees as a revenue generator, festival organizer Bob Sheehan with the California Roots Festival in Montgomery, California, tells Billboard that payment plans are a critical link between fan affordability and generating the revenue needed to finance modern multi-day festivals. So effectively, they can't give us cheap festivals because it costs too much to run them. So instead, they're going to give us payment plans. That's what they're saying. We can't lower the prices and make them more affordable. So we're just going to keep the prices high, increase them over time, but give you a payment plan so it doesn't look like it hurts, but it still hurts. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Sheehan estimates that 65% to 70% of the festival attendees use payment plans to pay for their tickets, and adds that the entire system is built upon trust. Trust that we'll deliver the experience we promised, and trust that our fans will make their payments on time. If Coachella attendees miss their scheduled payments, typically the attempted debit card is declined, official funds, and expired. They are given 10 days to bring their account to current. Okay, that's a good idea. So if you got insufficient funds or your card is expired, you got 10 days to bring it up to snuff. If the 10th day passes, the payment is not received, then the order is cancelled, and the fan is issued a credit that can be used towards next year's festival. Wow, I like that. It's quick and simple. Quick and simple. You miss it, you got 10 days. If you don't, the credit goes back to your account. They move on. I wonder, do they give that ticket to somebody else or not? Credit expires after with 12 months with insurance. Expired monies and credits, often referred to as breakage, as business is governed by state law, though some sources say that revenue generated from breakage is minuscule. Most default happens after the initial deposit is made on the first payment. It's very rare that a fan will default tickets after 2 payments. All of the incentives for the promoter are built are that the fan pay their ticket in full and attend the event so they can spend money on beer and parking and merchandise. Yeah. As great as this is, I still think we're going to reach a point where this is all going to implode. There's too many on. Like, there's just too many festivals. There's too much on. There's too much on in nightlife, personally, I feel like. There's probably too many festivals as well. And we're just going to reach a point naturally where things just implode. It's just going to have to be a case. There's just too much on. People are not making enough money to afford this stuff. And eventually, we're just going to come to a point where everyone's going to be like, you know what? Enough's enough. Let's move on. Especially because these guys well probably can't make the money that they think they can make because of how expensive everything is. So it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But hey, at least Coachella's trying, and hopefully more festivals do this, which means more people start to give those festivals a go. But I feel like a lot of young people have found other ways to have fun, you know? They're not even going to, I don't know. Are they even going to these things as much as they were in the past? I'd love to see what the attendance, because I think last year's Coachella had one of the lowest attendees, attendances ever. So I would love to see what the actual attendance for this year's Coachella is going to be in the end. Some of them are, sell out early, like fucking Glastonbury sold out last year in November when when the tickets got released. So some things are doing well, but I think across the board, I think a lot of people are probably struggling. And probably why a lot of festivals you're hearing them kind of, cancel or stop or whatever else it may be over time. But hey, what can you know? What do I know? We've also got this story courtesy of BBC. This is a really heartbreaking story. I'm sure some of you have seen this. Dominican Republic nightclub collapses and kills 113. All you got to do is just look at this picture here. I'm assuming this is what the nightclub looks like. And if you're not seeing this, this is a drone shot. that shows the nightclub from the top down, and essentially the whole entire roof looks like it got caved in. Now I'm sure they probably collapsed the entire roof to probably clear debris and to see if they can get any survivors or bodies and shit. But judging by that collapse, it's no surprise that 113 people died, because that is catastrophic. That is so heartbreaking. The entire roof looks like it just, fell down and dropped on everybody that was on the dance floor. Absolutely tragic. So let's actually read the story. It says at least 113 people have been killed and more than 115 people injured after a roof collapse at a nightclub in Dominican Republic. So that's 300 people. Mamma mia. In Democratic Republic's capital, Santo Domingo, officials said the provincial governor and former mayor, Major League Baseball pitcher, Octavio Dotel, were among the victims. Wow, really? That is horrible, bro. A governor and former MLB player, Dotel, 51, died on the way to hospital after being pulled from the debris. The incident happened in the early, so it must be a popular nightclub, isn't it? So everyone actually goes there. Jesus Christ. The incident happened in the early hours of Tuesday after a concert by popular merengue singer Ruby Perez at the Jet Set nightclub. He was among those killed in the incident, his manager said. Oh my God. The actual performer died too. Well, R.I.P. Ruby Perez, R.I.P. fucking the Octavio Dotel. What a heartbreaking tragedy. Hundreds of people were inside the venue. Some 400 rescuers are still searching for survivors. There are fears the death toll will rise further. God almighty. The director of the Emergency Operations Center, COE, Juan Manuel Mendez, said that he's hopeful that many of the buried under the collapsed roof were still alive. Jet Set is a popular nightclub in Santo Domingo, which regularly hosts dance music concerts on Monday evenings. Really? That's interesting, isn't it? They do their raves on a Monday evening. I wonder why that's the case. Politicians, athletes, and other prominent figures were in attendance. Yeah, I'm guessing if it's merengue, is basically the national fucking genre, isn't it? Among other victims was Nelsie Cruz, a governor from Monte Cristi province. President Luis Albina said she was a sister of former MLB baseball player Nelson Cruz, a 7-time Major League Baseball All-Star. God almighty. Dotel, meanwhile, began playing New York Mets in 1999 and played for the teams including the Houston Astros, Oakland A's, New York Yankees, Chicago White Sox, and Detroit Tigers until 2013. Footage apparently taken inside of the nightclub shows people sitting at tables in front of the stage, some dancing to the music in the back while Ruby Perez sings. In a separate mobile video, phone recording shared on social media, a man standing next to the stage can be heard saying something fell on the ceiling, while his finger can be seen pointing towards the roof. In the footage, Ruby Perez also seems to be looking towards the area pointed out by the man. Less than 30 seconds later, a noise can be heard and the recording goes black while a woman is screaming, "Dad, what's happened to you?" One of Ruby Perez's band members told the local media that the club had been full when the collapse happened around 1 a.m. "I thought it was an earthquake," the musician said. The daughter of Ruby Perez said her father was among those trapped. President Abinda has expressed his condolences for the families affected. God almighty. Yeah, there needs to be a real, because I think there's another thing happening in Central Europe, Eastern Europe and stuff, but there needs to be a real fucking review of some of the safety standards in these kind of clubs. And it makes you kind of thankful for the clubs that we have in the country that, they're terrible, don't get me wrong, but you don't really hear of these type of stories, We have our issues in this country, licensing laws, blah, 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 the things that I've kind of moaned about ad nauseum on this particular pod. But at least when you go to a nightclub, you never feel that the fucking roof is going to just drop on your head. At most, you're probably praying and hoping that they have a bigger bar, they have air conditioning, you're praying for more drink options, cold drinks, more toilets, but you're never in fear that you may just drop from walking up the stairs, that the DJ booth may drop on your head, a ceiling may drop on your head. You're fairly safe in most clubs in London. So that's something we have to be thankful for, because in other countries, things are not the same. Maybe it's partly due to their building regulations, licenses, maybe they're a bit lax on certain things, but either way, I'm assuming they're probably going to make sure they thoroughly, review this and find out who the culprits are, and whoever is to blame is probably going to suffer the consequences of this harsh, in a very, very harsh way, because those are way too many people to die in the nightclub. 113 is fucking crazy. But RIP everyone that passed away. Absolute tragedy. I can't imagine what it must feel like over there right now. It must be a real, real sad vibe in fucking Dominican Republic, especially with so many prominent people passing away. I'm sure a bunch of local people too. family and friends have passed away too, because you know everyone's saying it's the most popular club there. Absolutely heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. RIP to everybody involved. RIP to everybody involved. Continuing on, I've been watching this show called MobLand on, I don't know where it's on actually, don't get me wrong, I downloaded it, so I don't know where it's on, but it's season 1. It's starring what's his fucking name? It's starring, who's the guy that played, what's his name? Why does his name escape me now? Let me just see if I can get this on the other tab. It's starring the guy that played Bane in the Batman series. Oh, Tom Hardy, that's the one. It's starring Tom Hardy, the former James Bond guy, forgot his name, don't fucking ask me what his name is, always I forget the cast name. That's it. It's starring Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, and the guy Paddy Considine, the guy from what's his name, House of Dragon. So it's a fairly decent cast of people. MobLand, you kind of get the idea of what it's about. It's about mob gangs and shit. I think it's primarily about 2 families in London that are on the brink of war, and that's how it kind of starts off. But one of the really amazing things in the scene of one of the first episodes is that a couple of the characters in it end up going to fold. It's a pretty cool little scene. They end up going to fold. Something tragic transpires inside there. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't watched it yet, but please watch it. But it was kind of trippy to see fold featured in there. I'm not going to lie. It was kind of trippy to see fold featured in a TV show because I recognized it straight away. But the funny thing that they did about it is that, if I'm not mistaken, they used like another entrance. I didn't know this was an entrance, so maybe because I haven't been in a while, but usually the entrance that they use is the one towards the front, like on the corner of the street, but they use an entrance at the back. That's kind of, it looks the same as well. It looks kind of the same, but it's a different entrance, which I'm not too sure if they did that on purpose because they didn't want the fold logo to be in short, or maybe the owners didn't want the people to come up the famous stairs. I don't know why, but they didn't actually go through the regular entrance. They went through another entrance at the back. And when they go through, I think it's another way to go through it. That kind of looks a bit different, but you see all the lockers, you see the fucking toilets that, you know, we've all kind of probably been in for our adult vitamin times. We see the dance floor. You see the sound installation foam thing on the roof. You see the bar, you see the platform. And when the characters enter into the actual club, it looks like they're entering a kink rave. That's what it looks like. It looks like some sort of kink party. Not sure if that was an unfold, if that was a club verboten, but regardless, that was what was going on in there. There's a really funny scene where they walk past one person fucking in one of the playrooms, and it's a black guy, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. There's actually a lot of black people involved in that particular bit of footage. I was like, I've been there a few times, love the place, owners are fucking cool, but I don't think there's that many black people that go to Ford, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, it's a TV show, so you got to kind of make it multicultural. But I thought that was pretty sick. And yeah, and then one of the characters goes back the next day. But when I Googled it and tried to see what was going on, I got this really heartbreaking news. When I just Googled MobLand filmed in fold. This is courtesy of an AI overview, right? And taken from a Time Out article. It says the following. Yes, nightclub Fold in Canning Town, East London was used as a filming location for the show MobLand. The club was specifically used to depict a scene where Eddie Harrigan has a night out that leads for trouble for his family. Now, the thing that's troubling about this, if you scroll down, is this. Potential redevelopment. The location manager for the show suggested that the club might be knocked down and redeveloped, according to a Time Out article. Now, that is the most heartbreaking news I've heard this year. Fold might go. Of course, Fold might leave. Of course, that's typical London. Of course, Fold that's building like, it's located in like a industrial park, a sort of industrial warehousey, whatever area of London, because I used to live around the corner from there. Back in the day, that used to be the place where I used to pick up my DHL and Royal Mail parcels, because that's where they would come if I wasn't in, and they would drop things off, or if I have to pay some sort of custom fee, I'd go to pick up my shoes there. So I'm familiar with that area. I run around the area. You know, the gyms are around the area, the fucking, what's it called? The Iceland, the Co-op, McDonald's even. I'm familiar with that area completely. And obviously Eastleigh School from back in the day, blah, 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 blah. So the fact that the reason why Folded does so well, or why it's one of our better clubs, is because it's essentially in the middle of nowhere, very far away from a residential area. It's next to a train track, which I'm sure kind of helps them muffle the noise. It kind of acts as like a structural noise cancellation, right? Something, I'm sure it does. This is my kind of stupid thinking. But even that doesn't save Fold from redevelopment. Even Fold being in the middle of an industrial area, full of warehouses, full of garages, metal scrapyard things, a bus depot. It's still not immune. It's still not protected. It's still not safe from redevelopment. And I'm assuming, my assumption would be that most likely the redevelopment is happening because of the club and everything that's happened around that. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's also a more of a quote unquote black club that exists somewhere in that area. Because every time I would walk down, because I live quite near it, but I come from another direction, I'd always pass a lot of, like, you know, black people that go to a club near Fold, which I'm assuming is also kind of a part of, you know, maybe the redevelopment. So we're going to lose Fold at one point. I don't know when exactly it's going to happen, but I guess they're going to have to relocate the club somewhere else. They're going to have to put it somewhere. And I wonder if they're going to be able to keep the magic if they do relocate it, or if it's going to lose a bit of the sparkle that it had, because I think it kind of works where it works because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's allowed to open really late. They kind of took a chance on certain promoters. Maybe if you move to a certain location, the rents go up, which then means you have to hire or book certain people to play, which then affects the lineup, which then affects the crowd. Maybe the area as well, because I would imagine too, maybe the fact that they have so many, you know, queer nights, so many kink nights there, is because it's safe, or gay nights because it's safe, right? Because you can kind of arrive there in an Uber and not have anybody trouble you. You can actually arrive there via public transport and have no one trouble you, because it's kind of like an in and out sort of place, you know. But maybe if you have it in another location, it might maybe affect the safety of those people from those type of communities. So it's really troubling just thinking about it aloud, and just goes to show, just, you know, London's one of those places where you have to enjoy the things when you enjoy them, you know, go out, have fun, but you can never think these places are going to last forever. They're always the danger of being, you know, torn apart through fucking gentrification. And it seems like, based on this little quote, that most likely Fold is going to be another victim of that thing somewhere too. So enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy it while you can, because that place ain't going to last forever, unfortunately. And it's probably going to have to move sometime soon. And who knows if the move is going to help it. You never fucking know. So enjoy it while you can. Enjoy it while you can. But hey, what do I know? Absolutely nada. So moving on, I also wanted to touch upon this, because this absolutely broke my heart. It really did break my heart. So let's actually speak about this. Big up Brendon Babenzien, right? Big up Brendon Babenzien. Big up blood clot Brendon Babenzien. He sat down on a
what I find interesting today.
He sat down on the cutting room floor. Yeah, big up Brendon Babenzien, who's the founder of Noah and also one of the former designers of Supreme. He was, I think, in my opinion, responsible for some of the best outerwear that Supreme ever done, that period that he was there, prior to going full-time with Noah. He did some incredible pieces. Some of the pieces I still have in my collection. Or no, some pieces I had in my collection, which I unfortunately sold. But a lot of good shit came around the period and time that he was at Supreme. Outerwear, stuff inspired by Polo, stuff inspired by Ralph, stuff inspired by, you know, Nautica. Crazy shit. Crazy shit that I really recommend you check out. He sat down with cutting room floor and he had some very not nice words to say about streetwear that kind of broke my heart, and his kind of insistence on kind of rejecting that label and not being classed as a streetwear designer, which I've always thought was a dumb thing to say, because I never think the fashion industry, fashion scene has ever really accepted, respected streetwear anyway. So I don't understand why some streetwear designers are so insistent on being seen as fashion designers, when really and truly being seen as a streetwear designer is still something of a flex. It's still a good thing. It's still something you should be proud of. But for some reason, they don't want that, and they would rather be seen as fashion designers. So here is Brendon Babenzien on rejecting the term streetwear.
Interesting today, the recreations that surround streetwear, whereas they used to be like basketball, surfing, skating, they now feel much more polished. It's like sailing, it's tennis, it's après ski. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you're saying is it, because it's very much Noah.
Yeah, but Noah's not a streetwear brand.
It's not.
I know you say it is. I've heard you.
Rejecting that label is just wild, especially when you come from Supreme. Rejecting the fact that Noah's a streetwear brand when the majority of your customers come from there. Because I always thought like Noah's like, it's sort of like cut and sew. When you have a brand, when you have a streetwear brand, I remember back in the day, the evolution was that getting to a level where you did cut and sew, and cut and sew was basically another term for not using blanks, essentially. That meant actually constructing your own patterns, putting together your own jackets from scratch, and not just using a base kind of template or a blank or whatever and editing it or whatever it may be. And that was maybe the closest you'd get to doing fashion in that regard, like making something from scratch. But the whole idea around it was taking a staple, taking an everyday item, hence the streetwear kind of moniker, and kind of updating it and kind of putting your own twist on it. And there are more people, I think, in the world who are into streetwear than are into fashion, personally. I don't know if that's, that applies across the board. Maybe it's just only specific to men. But I think there are probably more men in the world who are probably way more into streetwear than they are into fashion anyway. So this idea that streetwear is somehow lower or less than fashion is weird. And I don't find it derogatory or demeaning for Noah to be referred to as a streetwear brand. Personally, I think that accurately describes what they do and what they're about. But let's hear Brendon Babenzien explain why.
I heard you say it a few times already, but I would never call it a street, not in a million years.
Really? That's interesting.
Well, you got to remember, I didn't call streetwear when they started calling it streetwear.
Right, but
nothing I ever touched ever was streetwear to me.
Okay.
Come on, bro. You work for Supreme. So what was it then? Was it a skateboarding company? Like Supreme is not even like yes, they sell decks, yes, they sell wheels and hardware, so technically there's skateboarding, but no one's going to, people that actually skate, they're not going to Supreme to buy stuff, Like you might just for the look, but for the most part, the people that are buying Supreme are people that just want to wear streetwear. And that's what streetwear encompasses, skateboarding and everything else included underneath that. Graffiti, hip hop, art, whatever else it may be underneath that. So I just find it odd because he was one of the main people responsible for making Supreme what it is. And that is the #1 streetwear brand, maybe of all time, especially when you consider longevity. And he was essentially able to kind of, jump from that to his own brand. And I think at the time, if I'm not mistaken, the law of Noah was that he was working on it while he was at Supreme. Then he took a break. Then he kind of started it again. And it's birthed from his time over there. So I don't understand. Let's hear how he tries to explain this.
Sure, but we also have to level set. You came from Supreme, which is the holy grail of streetwear.
Yeah, but I had a life before that too, right? That was where I grew up. The foundation was preppy, and then we.
Oh come on, bro. Yes, you had a life before that, but nobody knew you before you were at Supreme. Respectfully, I love Brendon Babenzien. He's a cool dude. I met him once when I went to New York working for a previous company, and he was nice. I met him briefly, very, very briefly. He was very, very nice. And everybody in the store was also nice, which is really not the it's not the thing in most streetwear stores. People are usually a bit, standoffish, but they're all really cool. Remember one tall dude with really curly hair who was really, really nice. But come on, brother. No one knew about you before you did Noah. No, before you did fucking Supreme. Supreme essentially allowed people to put a light on you when it came to Noah. And essentially, this is still streetwear. Preppy, I think preppy wear, this sort of thing from take Ivy with your sweatshirts, your jeans, your shorts, your fucking Sperry shoes, whatever boat shoes, that's more akin to streetwear than it is to fashion, in my personal opinion. Especially when you include Coach jackets, barber jackets, trench coat, that stuff is way more tied to streetwear than it is to fashion, personally.
We layered in our interest in music and punk rock and hip hop on top of that.
Right.
That's streetwear. What are you talking about? That's how some people found out. Supreme might be the vessel. A lot of streetwear brands, Mighty Healthy, the Hundreds back in the day, Diamond Coast Supply, Crooks and Castles, all of these brands back in the day were essentially the gateway to some of those things. Musical influences, artistic influences, cultural influences. That's all part of it. That's how you got to know some of these things, some of these artists collaborating, whatever else it may be. Some kids probably got their introduction to art in general, contemporary art, through collaborations that Supreme have done with their decks. So for him to reject this label is just mind-boggling. Because he's it's not even a degrading, demeaning thing. It's just, you make streetwear, really good streetwear, elevated street. If he's not streetwear, then what's Ami Leon Dore? Do they also not think they're streetwear, or do they think they're what, runway? Is that why you think you're fashion? You think you're ready to wear? Huh? Gore-Tex jackets, Coach jackets, jeans, hoodies. I get Demna's doing his stuff at Balenciaga, but mostly come on, bro, come on.
But when you launched Noah in 2015,
it wasn't a streetwear brand.
But I'm telling you, when you came out on the scene, whatever, with Noah in 2015, all of the press around it, all the language around it was like Supreme veteran Brendon Babenzien.
That's not my fault.
But I mean,
that's the media's fault. I didn't ask.
But that's how they packaged it. It was like his alma mater is Supreme.
But does that make it right?
But it's accurate.
No, it's not.
What do you mean? You spent 14.
Hold on, I want to check this out myself. Noah NY 2015. What does that collection actually look like? Have we got it here? Yeah, there we go. This is Noah NY's essentially their first collection. Yeah, 2015 lookbook. Big up by the level, because this is really angering me. It shouldn't, because it's none of my business and it's his brand, and however he wants to be labeled or defined as is his decision, and he's every right to fight for the right to be a fashion designer and not be a whatever. But this is angering me. Where is it? I can't see it there. Where is it? Where is it? Give it to me. Give it to me. Okay, cool. Let's go here. Maybe it's going to be here. Okay, it's on the actual site. Okay, it's not. Okay, there it is. Oh, come on, bro. 2015. You flannels, chinos, track jackets, pullover hoodies. Come on, brother, man. Nah, Brendon Babenzien, I like you, but you're chatting shit, bro. You're chatting absolute shit. The classic that classic hoodie with the fucking cross and the Noah going on the arch. Like heavy flannels, quilted jackets, knitwear. Like, come on, bro. Come on. This isn't streetwear to you. Brendon Babenzien thinks, what does he think this is then? This is what? Like, I wonder what what does he think this is? This is menswear and not streetwear. It's elevated streetwear. It's really well done streetwear, but it's streetwear nonetheless. What's wrong with calling it streetwear? You've even got elevated pieces. Look, already an introduction to some tailoring with that blazer and the polo and the trousers. And look, he's wearing fucking Flight. Are they Jordan 4s? Yeah, Jordan 4s. A pair of Jordan 4s the model's wearing. By the way, I like how he did that, by the way, on the Jordan 4s. He let the fucking wings fly. Like, this is, like, what is wrong with calling this? Like, honestly, what could be wrong with calling this particular collection not streetwear? Like, what's he gonna, I want to know what he's gonna say. How's he going to explain it? Because this is fucking incredible.
15 years at this company.
They were saying where I was from, sure, but saying Noah was a streetwear brand was absurd.
I always thought that there was.
I understand saying I don't like being labeled as streetwear because I do more than that, but saying the labeling is absurd is insane, considering what they put out. Considering what they put out, quintessential streetwear pieces. Hoodies, t-shirts, coach jackets, I don't know, jeans, trainers even, right? Did they do trainers? Or I'm not sure. I'll take back the trainers thing. Like the hats, snapback hats, the beanies. Like, come on, man. Their most famous thing is a pullover hoodie. That one we just saw with the fucking crib. That's the most famous thing that they have. The most famous item. And it's not streetwear. Come on, man.
Making cashmere shirts and Shetland sweaters.
Okay.
Seriously. Yeah. Like, that's what I was making. Yeah, like nautical stuff and beach stuff.
But you made hoodies. You also made t-shirts. You also made chinos. You also made jeans.
And like, does that sound like streetwear to you? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, man. This is really upsetting me, man. This is really upsetting me. This is really upsetting me. This type of attitude, wanting not to be classed as streetwear, looking down on streetwear, acting as if you're better than streetwear. If you're so better than streetwear, go do a fucking collection then. Go put your fucking clothes down a runway. Go on, I dare you. Go and fucking book a show during Paris Fashion Week and try and compete with those motherfuckers. Go, I dare you. But you don't, because it's easier to kind of drop collections when you drop them. Drop them in a fucking normal, you know, non-fucking fashion calendar type of thing. Do your collections the way you do them. Like, come on. Has he done a single collection where there's not a hoodie in it? And you're calling yourself street, you're saying you're not streetwear. Has there been a single Noah collection where he's not produced a hoodie? Exactly.
Maybe today, possibly, but like, so I had no control over what people said. I still don't. Now they just put me in the preppy category. They're like, oh, everybody, Ame Leandore, Noah, rowing blazers, they're all preppy. And it's like, well, yeah, a little bit, but we're also not entirely that either.
Being okay with being called preppy, but not being okay with being called streetwear is insane to me. Maybe because he doesn't like, maybe part of it is to give him a little bit of credit. Maybe part of it is because he doesn't like the label streetwear because it comes with the sneaker connotation. Because sneakerheads, you know, I can maybe class myself as one. We're a corny bunch, right? No one, I don't think, is a proud sneakerhead. It's a bit of a corny term. And the people are incredibly unstylistic and just a bit shitty looking. So I get it. But being happy to be called preppy or classified as preppy but not streetwear is insane. Because preppy is worse.
Media doesn't know what to do. They need to package things. They need to sell you information and like put it into the world. Nuance.
Okay, this is new to me.
Nuance and complexity is not part of our culture anymore. Everything has to be easy.
He's got a point, but he's also making it way more complicated than it needs to be. Noah is a streetwear brand. I'm sorry. You can say what you want to say about how you want it to be classified, but based on what you put out, based on what the customers do with it, how they interact with it, how they wear it, based on the offerings that's available, primarily, Noah is a streetwear brand. Elevated streetwear, maybe to a certain extent. I think they've done a good job, and I think he's done a good job, actually, from taking the customers that he maybe had when he was at Supreme, guiding them through to kind of holding their hand through the process of taking them through with Noah. And I think slowly but surely, they have started to kind of sophisticate their lineup. It's not always streetwearish. A lot of stuff, there's a lot of tailoring involved now. There's a lot of like shirting, like button-ups. I see a lot more like trousers, like actual trousers and pants and not just chinos. So they're clearly elevating and pushing things a bit, which is good because you get to like, you know, take your customer on that journey from wearing a fucking hoodie all the way to wearing a whole suit or a whole outfit by you know, what you call it, Noah. But I don't know, man, this attitude that he has towards streetwear is pretty sad. But maybe it also explains why he left Supreme, because he probably didn't connect with the brand anymore. They are more streetwear, and he probably thought the stuff that he was doing wasn't streetwear, and it was kind of getting lost amongst all of that shit. So it might explain his exit.
Easy and quantifiable and simple to understand. When I did my thing, because I was at Supreme, they were like, well, I guess it's streetwear. Once we were labeled that, it's never gone away. You called Noah streetwear 25 minutes ago. And I don't even push back anymore. I'm like, whatever. It doesn't even matter what people call things anymore.
Oh, really? You act like it matters, brother. You're acting like it matters. I'm not going to lie.
But it never really was.
Yeah, big up Omadi, big up the cutting room floor. An amazing clip. Really heartbreaking for me as a fan of Noah, obviously as a fan of streetwear, somebody that, you know, essentially got my start in terms of understanding fashion through streetwear, which is a weird way to kind of come into it, but I mostly understood fashion via the streetwear lens. That's how I got involved in clothing. That's how I got involved in, that's how I even developed my taste when it comes to clothing and style and everything else in between. So it's really sad to see somebody who's been such a prominent figure, such an inspirational figure, come out and essentially poo-poo and dismiss streetwear and act as if like he's better than it, or act as if it's not a worthwhile thing to be known as, and to kind of distance himself from it in a way that kind of seems a little bit disrespectful. A little bit. Doesn't really matter because who cares? But come on, brother, you're Noah NY. Like, what's the point? Like, if Noah isn't streetwear, what's Saturdays? Would Saturday say they're not streetwear either? Will Saturday say they're like what, surfwear? When half the clothing they sell, or majority of the clothing they sell, you can't wear if you weren't surfing anyway. Like, I don't understand this idea that streetwear is a bad thing. Such a strange thing. I guess maybe because you want it, maybe if you want to have your clothes sold in a department store, maybe that's part of it. I don't really know. I don't get it. You determine the pricing anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it is, like, I just don't get it. And I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's the pricing. Maybe you want to see your clothes on a rail somewhere next to other brands that you kind of aspire to be like. You don't want to see it on a rail with like $40 t-shirts. You want to see it on a rail with like $100 t-shirts and plus, maybe. But heartbreaking stuff regardless. Check out the cutting room floor for the whole interview. I've just seen some of the clips and it already angered me, so I'm not going to do any more. But I recommend that you do check out the cutting room floor. Always do great interviews. Always do great interviews. Moving on, I also wanted to talk a little bit about Spencer Parker. Big up Spencer Parker. He's from here. He's from the UK. He currently lives in Berlin. He's been living there for a while, and he had some very interesting things to say about the Berlin scene and other things during his interview with this channel called Music Not Diving with the artist and DJ Scuba. So let's check out some of the things you have to say. Big up Spencer Parker. I'm going to go for the first 8 minutes where he kind of speaks in glowing terms, essentially, about his experience living in Berlin. So let's go through this and let's see what you have to say. Bear with me a second here as I get this to load. Where is it? Where's Spencer? Let's go here. I think it starts around there, doesn't it? Yeah, there you go.
Now.
Well, it used to be a lot better. Now it's shit. So that's that.
That is the exact answer I was looking for. Nice one.
Good. Okay, moving on. Next question. No, I mean, that's what everyone tells you. I moved here 15 years ago and people were like, it used to be so much better. You know, I used to go to Bar 25. I used to go to VMF. I used to go to loads of different clubs. I mean, since I moved, I think I moved here on a Wednesday, and then the following Friday I played Panorama Bar. So I never made it to Oscar, but yeah. But when I moved here, everyone was like, it used to be so much better, and it was cheaper, and it was this, and it was that, and I was like, well, it seems pretty fucking good to me. So yeah.
Yeah, so essentially he's talking about Berlin. I think that's true. I think by and large, places like that are always going to be, they're always going to have like a very special place in your heart. You're always going to remember it fondly based on the time that you went and also based on your prior experiences. So if I'm coming from London, I think at the time that I first went to Berlin, maybe that was around the time that Plastic Peoples might have closed, which is one of our best clubs here. And it closed down, gentrification, standard sort of shit that happens. And if I'm not mistaken, going there, obviously, and I think that also around the time the Hackney licensing laws started to get really, Hackney Council, started to get really aggressive with the licensing laws and essentially shut down that entire strip. So when you're going to Berlin for the first time after seeing the entirety of your scene basically decimated in less than a year, when you go to a place where the clubs are open until, the next day, 8 a.m., and you can basically stay out until Monday if you go out on a Friday night, you can maybe look back on it with fond eyes and think, oh my God, it was so good when I went on this particular day, especially if you go back following years and there's not as many clubs as open because the whole club's closing down. It affected Berlin too. So it is kind of based on what time you're going. But I think by and large, if you're coming from a place like London, living over there must be way better, especially day to day. Maybe it's not the best terms of like beauty. It's a very ugly city, very dirty, full of graffiti, full of fucking garbage and, for lack of a better term, junkies everywhere. But in terms of pricing, you could probably get, for the same price you're paying for a standard apartment here in London for a one bed, you could probably get way more space, bang for your buck. You could probably afford to maybe have a studio. You can maybe even afford to work maybe part-time and still pay your rent off. So all those things are, if they're important to you, are probably a good way to probably go. But now, post-Brexit, maybe not the easiest to go and live out there as it was when we were in Europe, but hey.
Yeah, everyone likes to kind of play that role a little bit, especially if you've been here longer. So it's better when I first came here. But if you're like a younger person, you move to Berlin. I can only speak on me, but you move from London to Berlin, you're like, okay, the club is open till it wants to be open. Okay, I don't have to pay 60 euros for a taxi to go one side of the city to the other. I can afford to.
By the way, that's a great point. That's something that I don't think I've ever done here, like club hopping, except for the time when we had the whole like Hackney warehouses thing going on. And we had the warehouses also in Tottenham area and maybe some things in the South. That was the only time you club hopped. And that wasn't really club hopping. That was like warehouse to club hopping. But you can't really club hop in this country, in this city. Maybe not even in the country, because places aren't open long enough. So if you go to XOYO, if you go to fucking, I don't know, if you go to Colour Factory, you essentially have to stay there all night. You probably couldn't even, I don't think you could go to Colour Factory and Fold. It depends on when you left Colour Factory. But I think Fold even has a last entry is around 4. And I think Colour Factory closes at 4. So you couldn't even get there and, club hop, which is really annoying. But when you go to places like Berlin, you can do it. You can go to like 6 venues in one night if you so please. Obviously, it's going to be tiring. And maybe it's going to deplete some of your nostril reserves, but it is possible.
To have my own place, it's a great city. It's more expensive than it was. If you're, some people might think it was better better in the past than it is now. But I think that's often a reflection more of the person than the city, you know.
Right.
And
Right,
also,
yeah, okay.
things fucking change, you know. Some for better, some for worse, you know.
They fucking do. It's absolutely right. Yeah. And
Whether you like it or not, motherfucker.
it's an unavoidable reality, unfortunately.
Exactly.
The older you get, the more kind of like scared of it you seem to be. What certainly happens to most people anyway. You have that kind of like underlying thing. It's like, oh shit, did things really used to be better, or am I just thinking that because I'm?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really important thing to kind of keep in your mind. It's like, was it that much better, or was I 20 years younger? You know? And I think I think a lot of people fall into a kind of rut where they're like, oh, it used to be so much better because of this, it used to be so much better because of that. And maybe it was better because you were 25, not 45, you know?
That's a great point, but I do think it's funny he's saying that because later on in the interview he kind of trashes Horse Girl, but I think it's more so of a thing. It's just different, you know. It's just different. There's no point of comparing certain eras, especially in dance music and nightlife in general. Things are just different, and you either enjoy it for what it's different, for why it's different, or you just gracefully move on. But this comparing, contrasting, these debates about, oh yeah, let it go back to the old school, it's never going to go back. You're never going to put that genie in the bottle. You're never going to rid the dance floor of phones anymore. These are integral parts of our lives, more so than they were in yesteryears. You know, enjoy those memories that you did have, and just enjoy the clubs for what they are now. And if you don't, move on to other things. But the continued complaining and comparing is just boring.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that are like irrefutable, like, you know, the whole issue of like people having phones, people having cameras, stuff like that. That's, you know, social media. That's changed the world. That's changed everything in the world.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, you know, for bad in some ways, but then also for good in some ways, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean,
essentially, that's basically it. I personally think it's been a good thing overall, because I think it's ridded everybody of excuses. Because I really did hate the gatekeepery side of things when everything was about DJ polls. Now no one cares about DJ polls, right? They don't even exist anymore, really. Unless you count those DJ Mag ones, which are just like, I think they're AI generated. They don't even make any sense. But no one cares about this type of thing. So now you have no excuses. Now if you don't make it, it's just you. But essentially you've got your own booking agents, got your own PR, marketing thing in your phone. You've got the ability to get yourself out there, and you can essentially go from somebody working, you know, playing in your bedroom, all the way to playing on a festival stage. If you're somebody that just wants to get involved as a punter, you can gain experience. You can understand the scene. You can, you know, find out new artists, find out new sounds just from the comfort of your phone. You can find out about a burgeoning scene happening in Colombia, music being played in the Philippines, whatever, just from your phone. I have access to all these types of music that you could then crate dig, right, through Shazam, through Juno, through Spotify, get the tunes and then play them at your local parties in your small town somewhere. So now suddenly, if you're living in Arizona, you can play some song from some artist in fucking Sri Lanka that you just found out about because somebody used it in a mix on social media, and now suddenly you're putting on this artist, and who knows, later on in that line you could be the first person in North America to invite that artist from Sri Lanka to play at your local party in your fucking small town somewhere in fucking Arizona. It's fucking sick across the board. I love that bit about it. We're gonna fast forward a little bit, and we're gonna see some comments that Spencer Parker had regarding Panorama Bar and the hype of Berghain. I like his attitude around it. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like this attitude around it. The ambivalence, the lack of sucking up to it. I think it has to do with him living there. Maybe when you live there, maybe it's a bit different because everyone because I imagine when you live there, everyone probably speaks to you about Berghain, right? Like people that visit, like myself, you probably go there and you're like, that's the first thing you want to speak about. When you live there, you don't want to speak about it. I think the same thing with people that live in Hollywood. If you live in Hollywood, last thing you want to do is have a conversation about Hollywood and the industry. So I get it. So let's hear Spencer Parker's very interesting opinion regarding Panorama Bar and Berghain in general.
My horrendous personal life led me here. That's it, you know.
So that gig that you played at P-Bar the week after you arrived, had you ever been to P-Bar before that?
No, from what I remember, I arrived on a Wednesday, and I think Matt said, like, go and check it out. I think probably Matt or Boris or someone put me on the list. I checked it out on a Friday or a Saturday, and then I was like, oh wow, it's really cool. And then I played the Friday after, which is not because I'm anything amazing, but it was just obviously I'm on records. Matt was doing a records party, and he was nice enough to put me on the.
By the way, big up the the records guy. I forgot his DJ name. Big up that guy. But that's fucking incredible, isn't it? He left London because of I think he said he broke up with a girlfriend, and he basically needed a change. He goes and moves to Berlin to go live with his best friend, who's a label owner, who he's also signed to his label. And just by coincidence, that particular time that he's there, they need someone to play, and he gets to play one of his first gigs ever when he's there in Panorama Bar. You know, one of those circumstantial things that just happen through happenstance and shit. It's fucking sick. I love that.
On the lineup, so it's I don't think the bookers of Panorama Bar fell down and immediately booked me because I moved there.
Okay.
It's just a nice coincidence.
What was your initial impression? Obviously, you mentioned that you went to check it out. Do you remember what you thought of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a nice club, really cool spot.
Nothing more. Nothing more.
I love it. I love the chill nature of it. I'm out here fucking getting on my knees. I'm spreading my cheeks open. I'm licking Berghain down to the fucking shaft, going crazy on it, right? On a daily, if not weekly basis. And the guy that lives there, lives around the corner from there. I think he said at one point, plays there quite regularly. Yeah, it's all right, you know, decent club, you know, good vibes.
I thought it was really cool.
That's all right.
No, and it is really cool. I love it. I'm very honoured that I get to play there. But it's but yeah, it never had the hype when I started to play there. It's a really cool club in the same way that like the first few times I played Concrete in Paris, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And the you know, when I played Lux in Lisbon, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was obviously appreciative to play there. But yeah, it never had the what the fuck, I'm playing there. Because the hype hadn't really built that much around it.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying that, I like, when did the hype build around it? Like, when did it become that thing? Because I mean, like, you know, going back to social media, it definitely had a lot to do with people posting pictures of themselves outside it after they played on Instagram. I
don't think so. I don't think that's true. I don't think the pictures outside of the club really made that much of a difference. I don't think so. I think if anything, for once, it was journalism. The amount of articles that used to exist before the boom, now it's not the same. But before the boom, there was so many articles written about that fucking club. So many articles about not like articles about how to get in there. Articles about the vibe, articles about the ambiance, articles about the people, the this, the that, reviewing the actual sets. Now it's just about how to get in, and some of these clickbaity videos. But I remember I used to read an article about Berghain. I think every other month there was an article popping up about it all the time, and I think that's what actually led people to wanting to go and discover it. But I don't think the DJs taking the pictures of the clubs really helped. I'm not gonna lie, because they don't really say much about the actual experience in the club. They just speak about, oh my god, how happy they are they played, the vibe and shit, but they don't really say much. It doesn't really sell it, in my opinion. I think the selling it came from the people that visited it, journalists that wrote about it, and people sharing their anecdotal stories.
Right, that must have been very significant. And so when did that happen?
I mean, I think it was the kind of the advent of social media. That, I mean, I've got one picture of me laying on my record box outside with my friend cuddling me. That's the only picture I've ever taken after about 20 shows there. But I don't think
that's I guess because he lives there and he's a little bit. I think he's like a pretentious in a good way. I don't know. It's not a bad thing if you play there to take a picture outside. I don't see the problem with that. But it must be like amongst certain DJ circles, it must be seen as a bit of a lame, act like you've been here before type of thing if you do take a picture out there. It seems like it. Because I think some DJs see that as like a losery thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If you've worked hard during your career and you've earned that spot, or you've been there as a raver a bunch of times like we all have, and you finally get to play there and whatever, or it's your first gig that you've played outside of your country, whatever the reason is you want to take the picture, I don't think there's anything wrong with documenting the time that you played there or documenting every single time you play there. Like my girl LOL Snake, big up her. There's nothing wrong with it personally. I don't see why you should be snobby about only having one picture. Because if you want to be snobby, you can only be snobby if you've taken 0 pictures. You can't say, oh, I've only done 1. You did 1 though. You know, you still did 1. So you still partook in a trend. You still lowered yourself to, you know, what everyone is quote unquote doing that you don't like, but it's only 1. That's still the same as taking 17 in my personal opinion, but I could be wrong.
I think it was like, I remember like Facebook being a thing that everyone was using. And then I think, you know, there was lots of, and then like, just like most things, I guess. I mean, it deserves the hype. It's a great club. People like playing there for a reason, you know, for lots of different reasons. I'm not saying it's not great. I'm just saying that. Oh,
I love it. I love the attitude. I love how much he doesn't give a fuck. Or it's maybe acting like it, but I still love the attitude. It's just so refreshing. Because like I said, I'm the opposite. You know what I mean? I'm sucking on the knob. I don't know anyone there. I've never fucking played there yet. But I'm always fucking glazing it. And he's like, it's not that big. It's not that deep of a deal. Whatever.
The hype wasn't really there. I think that grew with, you know, social media. And then I think, you know, there's a really great book. I'm not sure if you've read it. I think it's called Berlin. I've got it here, but I can't remember the title. Berlin and the Rise of the Easy Jet Set Techno. Something like this.
Yeah, I got that, but I think I incorrectly got that in German, I think, for some reason, like a fucking idiot. But I have got that book somewhere in my collection too.
Okay. Yes. I haven't read it. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. I mean, there's that book, and there's another book called Der Klang der Family by Sven von Thulen, which is also a great book.
that has been mentioned on the show more than once. That is fucking awesome. That book.
I mean, Sven's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, so I mean, journalism. Those books, I think, did more for the scene than I think the actual people posting pictures outside. Nowadays, I think maybe a lot of people are getting hip to Berghain because of the strict entry policy and all the get ready with me's. But I think people that actually go there have made other people want to go there more so than the DJs that play there. Because I agree with what DJ Python said on How Long Gone in the episode I spoke about on the pod. I don't think a bunch of people would actually go there for the DJs. I'm not gonna lie. I think I might be one of the few people, plus some of us on the Berghain fucking Telegram and the Berghain community subreddit. There's probably a small amount of us that actually give a fuck about who's playing. I think the majority of people just go there to go get fucked up or to say they've been there. You know, they don't actually care about who's playing. So I think the people that go there actually are the ones that inspire people to go, in my personal opinion. But I could be wrong.
Phenomenal DJ, phenomenal producer, and yeah, it just blows my mind that people are able to write a book at all, let alone a book that's really good and encompasses a very big subject, you know.
That one in particular is really amazing because it's all quotations, isn't it? They've basically just interviewed a ton of people and then it's built this narrative completely through quotation marks without any other further exposition. It's pretty amazing actually as a piece of work.
There's another book. Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it does such a great job of putting you kind of in the room, as it were, putting you kind of in Berlin in the early 90s in such a kind of evocative way. Do you know what I mean? It really,
yeah, totally.
It's an incredible job of that.
No, there's another book called Meet Me in the Bathroom, which does a similar thing.
Yeah, I've got that amazing book. There's also a documentary out about it. I think there might be a podcast series too, but the book is fucking sensational. So fucking good. It talks about the indie sleaze scene essentially,
which is all about the rise of like Interpol, The Strokes, LCD Sound System, all about that era of New York. And it's just nothing but quotations. So I have like James Murphy going, we all used to go to this one bar, the Strokes are hanging out, everyone would get fucked up. And then the next quote would be one of the guys from the Strokes going, everyone was there every week. I remember falling out one, you know, just so it's all like kind of like a narrative, but it's just quotes. But it's a really great book.
Yeah, nice. Why do we start talking about that? Why are we talking about books?
Now, about the hype of Berghain and Panorama Bar. I think it was things like social media, Facebook, stuff like that. And then I think with the advent of cheap EasyJet flights, cheap Ryanair flights, you know, people could fly. Yeah, people could fly there. I mean, I remember Matt telling me stories. I mean, I think the flight from Milan or one of the Italian airports at one point was super cheap. So you'd be in Panorama and you'd be dancing with like 10 Italians, and they're like, oh yeah, we live in Milan. We went out last night. We got the flight at 6 a.m. We got in here at 10, and then we're taking the flight at 3 p.m. the next day or whatever. So I think all of those things, that and social media, because it's, you know, I
remember those times specifically, especially the cheap flights. Like there was a time, I think I look back on my email actually, I think I saw a couple of times I went like around the summer, right, in Berlin, when it's just really mostly kind of expensive because it's usually the warmest and nicest to go there and shit. And I got tickets for like £50, like a good weekend, or like a Friday to a Monday or a Friday to a Tuesday. I looked through some old receipts of Airbnbs, and I got like 1-bed apartments in like Prenzlauer Berg, Neukölln, Kreuzberg for like 150 for the weekend. Now you probably won't be able to find that. You'd probably be struggling to find a room in Berlin for those days, Friday to Monday, for 150. You'll be struggling to find a room. I found a whole apartment, 1-bed apartment, 2-bed, whatever it was, a whole apartment to myself for the weekend for 150. So those prices and stuff really did push people to go, more so than before. There's a few other clips as well that I want to play, but I'll probably play them in preceding episodes. But I really recommend you check it out. It's a really good interview. Spencer Parker's a really sick DJ personally. I've seen him play once in Panorama Bar a few years ago actually. Really, really good. Again, more of a housey, I'd say more of a house DJ instead of a disco or techno DJ. I'd say he probably leans more housey. Love his vibe. He's got a great social media. He's really funny, big, very charismatic, funny dude, and got a bit of a personality about him, bit kooky in a good way. So I recommend you check him out. And it seems like he's not up his own ass a little bit. You know how the DJs are a little bit, you know, unbearable. He seems to be someone that you can kind of have a normal conversation with. So I like those type of people. So big up him, big up him. Please check it out. Really good interview. Spencer Parker on the phone. Berlin Changes and Horse Girl featuring Scuba. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit about Luka Sabat. Big up Luka Sabat. He finally launched his collection or his brand. Actually, I don't say finally. I felt like he dropped before, but maybe this is the official drop. I feel like I've seen it online available to buy previously. Maybe this is the whole first collection, but either way, he's decided to drop his collection, Market Distance. It's his kind of first foray? No, I'm sure he had a brand before this, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. But regardless, he's making a move into creating his own fashion brand. He's doing it in collaboration with another dude. I think it's some white guy with long hair who he works with in this brand. It's called Market Distance, and the first collection just dropped. There are some good pieces featured in there, but the pricing is crazy. So I like the website. He's taken inspiration from 4chan. Essentially built it in the same way in terms of how it looks. If you check on Lookbook, you can kind of get an idea on how everything kind of looks at. And if you've been on 4chan before, you'd know how the layout is. But essentially, it's the same sort of layout with what he's done with his own site. So it's a little bit different in terms of how fashion stores are usually listed and done and designed. So I like that. But the prices for some of these pieces, man, God Almighty. So he's got a crust hat, right, which is a clever design, I think personally. He essentially got a baseball hat and made it distressed. He's added these really cool little metal clips on the brim, which remind me a little bit of the clips they put on cows or the women on Handmaid's Tale, Free June and all the girl them. But it's $420. $420, insane. He's got a t-shirt, twink t-shirt, that essentially has a fake printed on harness, right? That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a harness. It's got a ribbed sleeves, ribbed collar, contrasting, I guess, colors in terms of black and white. It comes in red. It also comes in blue, but it's mostly a white t-shirt with a fake sort of like leather harness on it. And that t-shirt is $330. Personally, I think it's insane. Somehow he sold out though, to be honest. So he's doing well. So big up him. He's still selling out of this stuff. Maybe he's not making that many in terms of overall quantities, but I think the pricing is just absolutely batshit crazy. There's a cheerleader t-shirt, which is looks like a thermal tee under a short sleeve tee, stitched onto the top of each other. $450. You've got the same thing again. You got a t-shirt here underneath, or on stitched on top of a thermal or a long sleeve. $520. You've got a sweatshirt, which I like this idea actually about this sweatshirt. Notre Dame sweatshirt. Maybe it's a vintage cut. Maybe the design is made. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's whatever. But essentially, they've cut the neck hole and made it into an O neck, so it kind of sits off your shoulders a little bit, which kind of gives it a nice little unisex kind of look. But that's sold out, so I'm assuming it was something of a high price. Maybe only a few of them were made. We've got some hoodies here, zip hoodies, Notre Dame hoodie, zip up hoodie, $1,060. You got another pullover hoodie here, sun fade hoodie, over dyed, or I guess not over dyed, sun fade, right? Sun bleached hoodie here, $1,400. God Almighty, like who is buying this stuff? Because some of the stuff is sold out. This crust tank, $2,300. It's actually quite nice, to be fair, in terms of how it's made. I'm not gonna lie. Leather chain stitched by piece, soda can zipper, made in Italy. So everything's made in Italy. Everything's made by a hand, it seems like, or is made in very small quantities. This is a leather sweatshirt that's cut into, it kind of reminds you of like a needleless leather sweatshirt that's been sliced up and stitched up together. Velvet or silk lining on the inside. This nice ruby red, wine red lining on the inside. But is it worth $2,300? I'm not too sure. Especially with all these articles out here talking about how dead luxury fashion is, and the fact that consumers are waking up and realizing that luxury fashion doesn't, maybe it's not as worth as much as what it cost. You've got a fetish dress, which is what? Essentially, this is something a girl could probably get on Vinted for like £10, if not less. It's a black silk dress. It's cost you $2,800. And yeah, what has he done differently on this particular one? He's added this chain on the back, is it? Or the back or the front? The chain kind of looks like something, it's a good little look because it essentially looks like fake nipple piercings. So you got this bolt with this kind of U-ring and this chain that connects both of the U-rings there. So not too shabby. Made in Italy again, but again, is it worth $2,800? Probably not. And continuing on here, maybe my favorite piece of this entire thing might be, actually, I really like this cross pant, which kind of reminds me of something, what's his name? John Takahashi at Undercover did. I also like these Tommy denim jeans, which kind of remind me of the guy that used to be Just Kids. I forgot his fucking name. The Robert Mapplethorpe, I think. Reminds me of something that he might have worn. I also don't mind the Manson denim with the American flag stitched over it like a skirt. That's also burnt and shit. I think that looks pretty sick. $3,360 though. I'm not sure if it's worth that much. But hey, allegedly the flag is imported from USA to Italy. I don't know why that matters, by the way. It's a weird thing to put on your product description. The flag is imported from the US to Italy. Does that mean is it a made in from the USA flag though? They don't say that. It should actually say the flag is made in the USA. The whole thing is constructed in Italy. You know, it seems weird, doesn't it? But I do like it overall from what it looks like. It looks fucking beautiful. I'm not mad at it at all. And also, I think, what's his fucking name? Luka does a good job of modeling it in this actual picture. He makes it look really good there. So I actually don't mind that. And some of this as well looks like undercover. This is probably the best thing there, right? This grandmother's trench with the different color buttons as well. Oh no, the different buttons in general, not different color. My bad. I didn't see that correctly. That's a really nice detail. This is a wax trench coat, double-breasted, you know, trench coat style, and every button's a different style of a button. Really fucking cool. You got a regular button. You got one that looks like fake diamonds. You got one that looks like a gold coin. You got one that's a bottle cap of San Miguel. You got one that's done in the style of a signet ring. You got one that's done in the style of a pearl earring. That's a really cool idea. I'm not gonna lie. That's a really, really cool idea. So there are some cool ideas here. Maybe the idea around this is to kind of build it to a place where an investment company wants to buy you out of it. Maybe there's a smoking vest. Actually, I take it back. The vests are quite nice. A lot of the leather stuff looks like Black Means. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the leather stuff has a lot of Black Means inspiration behind it. Personally, I feel like. And maybe some chrome hearts as well. But I do like that leather vest, and of course that Notre Dame bomber jacket with the fur hood. I wonder if Kanye is going to get angry when he sees this, because I think Kanye's done a hoodie or something similar with this faux hood as well. You might get angry and think that Luka has copied him, but I do like that. And maybe this hornball one as well. Hornball, I wonder if this is equating to you taking this sort of jacket to a king pie and wearing nothing underneath. But I do like that. That's quite nice actually. That leather hands, what's that, leather, ball leather, hand studded, hand distressed, hand sewn, back stitch. So yeah, the prices of it are absolutely insane. The items themselves are really well done, and it's interesting. It's interesting what he's doing. It clearly he's making a change and trying to evolve. Maybe, you know, influencing and being a model is not enough. I want to do more. There was a period in time where he was being an artist. Remember that? That wasn't very good, to be fair. I remember seeing him do a piece, a sculpture, I guess. That's what he's trying to call it. It was like a brown staircase, pretty ugly staircase. I didn't like it in the slightest. I didn't think he really did much there. The DJing thing I thought was a good angle based on what he looks like and whatnot. I thought that might have worked. Maybe that's maybe a hard thing to kind of really commit to. But when it comes to fashion, it makes sense. Everyone kind of likes how he dresses, and he clearly does well when he puts certain bits of clothing on and shit, gets invited to all the shows, blah, 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 blah. So this is a natural place to come. But I do like that he took his time. Maybe he took a little bit too long, someone could say. Maybe his star isn't as high as it once was, Luka Sabat. Maybe he could have done this at his real peak of his celebrity and whatever. But I like that he's taken his time to really understand manufacturing, design, all this malarkey, and to get the quality where he wants it. Because I guess when he's getting into it, I guess he didn't want to get into it just selling t-shirts, you know. He wanted to do an actual collection where everything's made from scratch, or as close as opposed to just doing a t-shirt brand, which he probably could have done very, very easily. Some of the stuff didn't make it to production, I don't think, right? I don't see this in a drop. I think some stuff didn't make it to production, but a lot of the things featured are quite nice. But the pricing is just like, I don't think I saw this. This M65 is actually pretty decent. This look there, that M65 there is really fucking good. But I don't think I saw that in the actual shop drop. But maybe it's part of a different drop. Maybe there's different drops that are going to be occurring. But a lot of the stuff that's in that lookbook, I don't see featured all the way through here. So, oh yeah, no, there's M65 there. It's called a gag coat. He's called a gang coat, ring coat. So yeah. A lot of BDSM sort of influences, a lot of Chrome Hearts influences, black memes, undercover, maybe some Helmet Lang also in there, maybe some early Ralph Simmons with some of this kind of college sort of font and whatever branding going on there, and decent enough effort. It's just the pricing is pretty wild, but some of the stuff is selling out, so clearly maybe, you know, I'm not the one for it at the moment, but people are buying it. But the pricing is pretty nuts. The pricing is pretty nuts, bro. It's pretty nuts. But big up Luka Sabat regardless. Big up Blood Clot Luka Sabat regardless. We love to see it. One thing we don't love to see is HIDDEN.NY. HIDDEN.NY, I think continually, in my personal opinion, continually really do a disservice to their audience. I'm not really a fan of the page or anything personally, but I know loads of people are, and they've got a huge following. So it would be nice for them to kind of take some of that following, or take that following and, you know, supply those fans with actual good products. Because I think a lot of the stuff that they feature, a lot of the images that they put on their page, mood board, whatever, should be used as an inspiration to kind of push your stuff and go the extra mile and to kind of, you know, make your own mark. But if anything, they just end up copying and making poor imitations of the legendary streetwear brands from yesteryears that they kind of feature, and some of the people that they kind of feature too. It doesn't really hold a candle to the things that they put on their page, and it just looks very derivative, it looks very repetitive, it just looks boring. So this is courtesy of Hypebeast. It says HIDDEN.NY releases second and Wonder collaboration, and also I think the branding is a bit too blatant, you know, with the green and stuff. I'd maybe calm down with the green. We get it, you're HIDDEN.NY, but not everything has to be green. Some of the pieces in this HIDDEN.NY and Wonder collection are decent enough, like the backpack and stuff, but a lot of it is very forgettable. A lot of it is very just samey, covered in logos and branding, and a lot of it, like I said, just doesn't hold a candle to the things that they feature on their own page. So it's, in my opinion, very, very, very disappointing. And I would just love to see them just maybe elevate things a little bit more, you know. And maybe this look here, number 8, maybe is maybe the best thing, but again, it's one of their most understated looks with the fleece. That badge is just way too big in my personal opinion. The hat is decent enough, but do you need to have that extra brand of ribboning here to give the, like, is that really necessary? You know, you just put that on the inside of the lining, but do you need to have this all over? You could probably just have the And Wonder logo and the hidden logo on the front. You don't need this band to show people what the brand is. It's a bit too heavy-handed. But the backpack is actually quite nice. I don't mind the backpack. The backpack is nice, but again, I don't think I'd be proud enough to be walking down the street with a backpack with this massive hidden logo on the back. I don't know. It's just not for me personally. But nice enough collaboration, I guess, if that's your thing. It's dropping on April 11th, so it's already dropped. Most likely, I imagine probably sold out as well. But it's available there. There's also another capsule collection too that they dropped earlier on in March. This is courtesy of Hypebeast. So you've got some t-shirts here. Maybe this actual jacket is actually not too shabby. Still, I think the logo is a bit too overboard. There's a flower pot, there's a t-shirt, a book bag, which is decent enough. The hoodies are okay. There's a nice Wrangler hoodie here. The cut of this is actually quite decent. New York motif written there. There's a hoodie there. The design on the back is, I guess, standard, but again, yeah, there's nothing really linking this particular jacket and that hoodie, you know? Everything just feels a bit random and all over the place. That's the kind of vibe I get when it comes to HIDDEN.NY. I'm not sure what these little things are. Maybe this is an ashtray. I'm not too sure what these hexagonal things are. It continues on. You got some flower pots. So I actually don't mind. You know what? I'm going to take it back. I actually don't mind their miscellaneous items. I think they should maybe focus more on the miscellaneous items and less with the streetwear bits. Because the miscellaneous items are pretty decent. What they got here, is that an incense thing? Oh no, that's a stereo or what? I'm not sure what that stereo thing is there. But I don't mind the key ring. I don't mind the flower pots. I don't mind the ashtrays. I don't mind this. I'm not sure if they're dice or what they are. But there's some decent things there. Decent things. There's what, colored vases, logo chains, and graphic lighters. Oh, those are, so that's a lighter there, I think. This one here is a lighter. This thing that says HIDDEN.NY stereo is actually a lighter. So that's not too bad. But the rest of it probably is not nothing to write home about. But at least they're trying. I guess at least they are trying. And also, finally, wanting to speak about this. This is regarding Over and Under. Big up Over and Under, who have featured official images of the Air Jordan Black Cat 4s that are due to come out November 28th. According to people online, these are going to have updated shape, Nike Air branding, and improved comfort. The updated shape, essentially, what I've heard going forward, is that this is official as well. All Jordan 4s are going to have the same silhouette or the same shape as the Nike SB Jordan 4s, which is the one that everyone prefers because the front is way more, you know, slanted to the ground. It's got more of a boxier type of shape. It's more slender. It obviously fits better, more comfortable, blah 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 blah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Eric Costin worked on a lot of the improvements of that shoe. So that's going to be something that you're going to see on this particular pair. I'm not too sure if this is an edit, but this doesn't look like the updated shape. I'm not going to lie. It kind of looks, it's got more of a banana-y boat here. So I think this might be the actual original Black Cat 4 that I have, actually. I'm not sure if this is actually the updated one. I'm not too sure. But allegedly, this is dropping again in November. Obviously, I'm going to be doubling up on a few pairs of these because I'm a sucker for all black shoes. It still has the black suede wings. I think there was the debate that they were going to turn these plastic, but I'm glad to see that there's still the same nubuck suede, whatever, upper wings on the side there, and the only plastic bits are the lace stays, whatever, loops there at the top of the wings. And according to this picture, I'm not sure if this is true, but according to this picture, the Black Cat 4s, unlike mine, which has the blacked out Jordan brand logo or the Jumpman logo, on the new updated ones, they'll have a Nike at the back, and the logo will be grey. So usually they're blacked out, but it's going to be grey, which is going to, I guess, give a bit of a contrast and stand out, which I don't really mind. I'm not going to lie. I think they look pretty cool that way. But yeah, these are due to come out November 28th, so a real big lead up to them. What's the lining like? The lining is just standard as well. Yeah, it's suede, and we got some nice flat black laces there as well featured. But for me, a classic shoe, Black Cat Jordan 4s. I would hope they'd also drop the pure money ones, which are all white, which I had as well with the silver bits here. They were fucking brilliant. I hope they retro those again sometime soon. But the Black Cat 4s are an incredible shoe, incredible shape. One of my favorite Jordan numbers or brand shoes of all time. Actually up there with maybe the 1 and possibly the 6 and the 7s, but the 4s are definitely my favorite. A Tinker Hatfield fucking special. Check those out. Due to come out November 28th. Due to come out. sometime in November 28th. Cool. Okay, that's it. Thank you for tuning in to the Casinos Inc. Show, episode number 897. It's been a pleasure to have your company as per usual. If it's your first time checking out the show via all the flipping places that you're using it on, make sure you give me a 5-star review. If you're watching it via the live stream on YouTube, make sure you smash the like button down below, subscribe to the channel, all that good shit. If you're listening to it via the podcasting app, I'm going to be playing my song of the day. My song of the day is courtesy the one and the only Empire of the Sun. Empire of the Sun, new EP just dropped. I'm going to be playing the first track from that actual EP. It's featuring DJ Tennis. It's a remix of their track called Changes. So it's Empire of the Sun Changes, a DJ Tennis remix. Absolutely banging track. Please check it out. I've been having this on loop since I've been in the gym lately, and I recommend that you give it a go because it's a really good one. So big up DJ Tennis. Maybe not the best DJ nowadays. He's kind of gone too much down the business techno side of things, and I know he used to be a chef, but I'm getting fed up of seeing DJ Tennis playing inside the kitchens and shit. We get it, bro. You like to eat, you like to make food, but enough of the fucking kitchen gimmick. But when he's actually producing, whoo, he's up there, man, because that's a really good remix. That's a really fucking good remix. So Empire of the Sun Changes is my song of the day, remixed by DJ Tennis. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. It's been a pleasure. Never flipping a chore. For those of you watching live, pop over to the Random Show channel, and we're going to be starting over there very soon. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys again very soon. Peace.